You are standing in a group of people and someone says something. It is not funny. You know it is not funny. If you read it later, written on a page, alone, you would not even smile. And you laugh anyway. Not a fake laugh. Not a polite little social cough. A real one that came up out of you before you had time to decide anything. The thing that was said barely qualified as a joke, and your body produced genuine laughter on cue in front of everyone. Later, if you think about it at all, you file it under being nice. You were going along with the group. You were being warm. You laughed to be polite, but you have it backwards. That laugh was not politeness pasted over a joke that failed. The laugh was the point, and the joke was almost irrelevant. You were not laughing because it was funny. You were doing something much older than humor, and it only looks like a response to a joke because that is where it usually hides. To see this clearly, you have to look at where laughter actually happens. And the person who counted is a neuroscientist named Robert Provine. He did something almost nobody had bothered to do. Instead of studying laughter in a lab with prepared jokes, he followed people around in the real world, in malls and on sidewalks and at parties, and he recorded what people were actually saying in the moment right before they laughed. He expected jokes. He found almost none. Most laughter, he reported, did not follow anything resembling a joke or a story or any deliberate attempt at humor. It followed lines like, "I know," and "Are you sure?" and "Where have you been?" Completely ordinary talk. The laughter was not a reaction to cleverness. It was stitched into the conversation itself, like punctuation, marking the rhythm of two people connecting. And here is the number that should stop you. People are far more likely to laugh while they are the one talking than at anything their listener says. Read that again. The person speaking, telling no joke, laughs more than the person receiving the supposedly funny material. If laughter were about humor, that makes no sense. If laughter is about bonding, it makes perfect sense. You are not laughing at content. You are using laughter to reach the other person. There is one more piece, and it is the one that gives the whole thing away. Provine and others found that children as young as 3 and 4 are around 8 times more likely to laugh at something funny when another child is present than when they are watching it alone. 8 times. The exact same material. The only thing that changed was whether there was someone to laugh with. Laughter, it turns out, is barely about the funny thing at all. It is about the someone. So if laughter is not a reaction to jokes, what is it actually for? The best answer we have comes from the anthropologist Robin Dunbar, and it starts with monkeys picking through each other's fur. For social primates, grooming is not really about cleanliness. 2 chimpanzees sitting together, one carefully working through the other's coat, are maintaining a bond. It calms them. It says we are on the same side. And it triggers the release of endorphins, the brain's own soothing chemicals, in both of them. Grooming is how a primate says you matter to me, without any words at all. But grooming has a hard limit. You can only groom one other individual at a time, one hand moving through one coat. If you are a species living in larger and larger groups, there are simply not enough hours in the day to physically stroke everyone whose friendship you need. The math breaks down. Dunbar's proposal is that laughter is what solved that problem. He calls it grooming at a distance. Laughter, like grooming, triggers endorphins. The physical act of it, the breathless, helpless, repeated sound, releases the same soothing chemistry that fur stroking does. But unlike grooming, you can do it to a whole group at once. One shared laugh can bond 5 or 6 people in a single moment. It is grooming that scales. Which means when you laughed at that not very funny thing, your body was reaching out and touching everyone in that circle at the same time, chemically, the way an ancestor would have reached out one hand to one friend. You were grooming them. You just were not using your hands. Now, I want to be honest about the edges of this, because the picture is not perfectly clean. Laughter reliably triggers the endorphin system and reliably strengthens the feeling of social bonding. That much holds up well in the experiments. But it does not do everything people claim. When researchers tested whether all that bonding actually made people more generous, Giving away more money in a simple economic game, the effect did not reliably show up. So laughter is a bonding mechanism, not a magic potion. It draws people together without necessarily making them behave better. It is worth knowing the difference. There is also a sharper edge, and you already know it if you have ever felt it. Laughter defines an inside and an outside. In one study, people laughed more at canned laughter when they believed it came from their own group than from a group of strangers. The same sound, treated as warmer when it was ours. Laughter says, "You are one of us," which quietly also says, "and they are not." The bonding and the excluding are the same tool, pointed in different directions. But hold on to the ordinary version, the one that runs your actual life. You laugh at your friend's weak joke because the joke was never the transaction. The joke was an excuse. What was really happening was two nervous systems, briefly releasing the same chemistry at the same moment, confirming a bond that words would have been too clumsy to state out loud. So the next time you hear yourself laugh at something that was not funny, and some tidy little voice tells you that you were only being polite, do not believe it. You were not being polite. You were reaching across the space between you and another person, and for just a second, holding on. It is the oldest kindness your species has. It only learned to disguise itself as a sense of humor.